Hey, what's up, guys? It's good to be back here with you again today. I know I talked a little while ago about APBA card values, and I talk about it from time to time. I thought today maybe we talk a little bit about Strat-O-Matic card values. If you are new to collecting old Strat-O-Matic cards, you need to understand that it's different than the APBA world. So in the APBA world, it's not hard to find full, complete sets that are in pretty good condition, going all the way back to the early 60s or even the late 50s. It's really not that hard. There's a lot of it out there. Demand is not that high. Strat-O-Matic is different. Strat-O-Matic, it turns out, ended up being a lot more successful among the crowd that turned into the sabermetrics crowd. Strat-O-Matic was a much more popular game sort of among the more nerdy, I guess you would say, the more computer-oriented types. And as a result, a lot of the mechanics of Strat-O-Matic have become somewhat legendary over time. Strat-O-Matic also did not overprint card sets the way that APBA did, and that's a huge distinction to make. APBA sets, especially years like, I can do this off the top of my head, 1979, 1982, 1984, 1985, 1986. Those are the APBA sets that were really overprinted. How do I know that? Because I bought every single one of those sets straight from the game company, brand new in 1999. I think I paid like $10 for the whole thing, maybe 15, including the XPs and the master game symbols, right? If you weren't around at that time, if you were taking an APBA break, you don't know about that. What that means is that if you try to invest in APBA cards, you're going to have a really, really difficult time because there's so much supply out there, and because those who track the markets are not going to tell you how much supply there is. Strat-O-Matic, it's a little bit different. So let's take a quick look here. We're just going to take a quick look at current listings. Right, I'm not going to look at sold listings, not quite yet. Remember, as always, that these buy and now listing prices are going to have prices that are probably too high. You can usually talk it down. I don't know if they would go 50% with you. It depends upon who the seller is. But if you're trying to buy this, you should talk them down, right? So don't pay $1,600 for the 65 set. But would $1,000 be reasonable for this 1965 APBA set or a Strat-O-Matic set? I think probably. $1,000 for a 1965 APBA set is not reasonable. There's no way. But this one includes the original game box, all the charts, dice, and pieces, which is what you want if you're getting a set that old. You want to make sure that it's complete, and then you can do your little project. You can be like me. You can film it on YouTube, share it with everybody else to look at. We had, what's his name? I saw the other day, had a project where he was using Digital Diamond Baseball to do the online scorekeeping while he was playing with the strat cards on his tabletop. That's a great idea. You got an extra $1,000, you put that sort of thing together. I don't think you necessarily will make any money back, but you'll make the rest of us in the community very happy. You can see here all of these, most of these old sets are going to be including everything. 66 original set minus one player shouldn't be $600. I mean, maybe. Right? Is there a photocopy of the missing player? Right? That's kind of what you need. So watch out for things like that. There's a couple extra players and there's one player missing. You got to watch out for that when you're looking at this. What we mean by this sort of set is that it needs to, like this one, the 69 set, include the additional player set. That's really what you're looking for. That's kind of the gold standard. Now, if the additional player set is missing, it's okay. Right, because the cards themselves are not necessarily that bad, but it needs to contain everything, right? Some of these things, right, like the Founders Edition, I don't know what the price is going to do. We don't know yet. It's too early. That's kind of a gamble. This is more of an investment type thing. Know that you're going to need to keep it sealed. As soon as you open it, it's going to lose half its value at least, if not more. Stuff like this here, the 85 set, I had a couple 85 sets that I sold years ago. $400, I think that's asking for a lot. I really do. I had a really nice 1975 set, which I think I'm going to use as part of the thumbnail for this video, that was just in absolute pristine condition. It looked kind of like this, and sold it, and even still, it wasn't even $200. So, I mean, you have to kind of look at it. The higher price stuff is all going to be buy it now type stuff. Here you go, 75 original. We'll take a quick look at this. And this is another nice set. In fact, I wonder it might even be the same set that I sold originally. They're asking $265 again. Probably maybe $140 or so might be a little bit low for this set given its age. I will say this too. If you're going to keep these nice, this is one way you can do it. What I would really recommend doing, though, is getting the plastic sleeves for these instead of these penny sleeves. And it really is to the point with these cards where if you're playing with them, you probably need to sleeve individual cards. Right, you can check out Tolarian Community College if you have cards that are like APBA size, that are a little bit smaller. For this size Strat-O-Matic, I don't know if this would be a little too oversized or not. I haven't measured it. You probably know better than I do. So you probably want to take a quick look at that and be very, very careful about it. Yeah, includes extra cards. So it might actually, you might need to pay 200 plus for this just because it includes extra cards. That's sort of the thing that you want to think about, though, when you're looking at this. We'll look a little bit later on, and we'll take a look at some sold listings and get a few areas of comparison in here. But when you're buying vintage Strat-O-Matic baseball, what you need to make sure of is, number one, are the sets complete, right? Like, are there missing players? Because if there are missing players, you probably don't want it. It's going to be hard to complete that, right? There's not a whole lot of single cards for sale. Sometimes you'll see stuff, but the same thing's true with APBA. Like, I know that there's the card father, but honestly, it's going to be really frustrating for you to complete that collection. So number one is it complete? And you got to make sure it's complete. Number two is, does it contain the extra cards, right? Extra player cards for Strat-O-Matic add a premium for seasons before perforation, so before 1987, because they weren't purchased by everybody, right? If it doesn't have the extra player cards, you need to factor that in, and I would say that there's a huge difference in price if those cards are not included. You have to keep that in mind. Number three is, does it contain the full box, the full original game? If it does, it's going to be more of a premium, especially if you're talking about something from the 60s or 70s where this stuff is rare. Now, game boxes from that time are not that rare. The way the Strat-O-Matic was sold frequently would include maybe 4 teams. It was sold, I think it was sold in some stores, maybe even been sold with a sort of a regional approach, right? So if you buy it in Ohio somewhere, you're going to get like Ohio teams, something like that, maybe 2 Ohio teams, and then the 2 latest World Series teams, something like that. Or it was also sold directly mail order from the company, where you could get it with sort of a starter set with, 4 teams included. Those 4-team type sets that date back to like the 70s are actually pretty common, so don't be fooled. Do not think that what you have is rare or worth a lot of money. It probably is not. What you're looking for is the full set with all teams and with all players, and especially with all the extra players. And then the other thing you have to look at, and I really have to be frank about this, is the condition of the cards. Strat-O-Matic originally came with rubber bands. Those rubber bands, if you stuck them on the cards and left them there for like 5 years or 10 years, would start to melt onto the card. The best types of cards are ones that don't have the rubber band markings. It's very hard to find because that's what the game company included. They didn't include a whole bunch of plastic sleeves for cards. They included rubber bands. You can find them without the rubber band markings. That's going to increase the premium for the cards. If you have a set, even if it has the rubber band markings and you're going to play with it, please figure out a way to sleeve the individual cards. There may be people who sell those sleeves. I haven't looked yet. You can go take a look and do some research on this and find someone like that. You really need to have those cards sleeved if you're playing with them. Not just because you could spill like your pop or something like that, but I mean, you want to keep it safe from fingerprints. You want to do as much as you possibly can to save the cards from wear and tear, because these cards were not necessarily made to last 50 to 100 years. Again, Strat-O-Matic cards, especially from before 1987, will increase in value. There's not a lot of supply, and there is still demand out there right now. APBA cards are different. The APBA crowd is a bit older. That shades towards more like the 60s and up. Strat-O-Matic cards, you will still find people in their 40s who play, who know the game well, and who are very interested in this. Now, in 20 years, the calculus might change a little bit, but remember that those pre-perforation card sets, that is before 1987, were printed in smaller amounts. I mean, even new sets that come out in Strat-O-Matic are printed in relatively small amounts. Those sets, though, from the 80s that were pre-perforated and they came with the cards nicely cut out, sometimes maybe not so nicely, whatever, depends on the quality control, those sets were not printed in extraordinarily high quantities, and people who played those sets played like the living heck out of them, right? So if you have a nice set with nice clean cards, this is an investable product. This is something that you could sit on and keep in good storage and hold on to maybe for 20 to 30 years and see increase significantly in value until we get to the point where nobody even knows what Strat-O-Matic is, which is kind of where we're going with APBA. So, and you never know what will happen. Maybe some idiot, with blonde hair will make a YouTube channel and start talking about this stuff and somehow get a big following, right? You like my stuff, go over to the baseball forum on Reddit and go post me all over the place, right? That's what we need. Try to get those people to come over here, and then we can see the channel grow. Who knows? Then maybe your sets will all be worth money again. Anyway, there's my take on Strat-O-Matic for the time being. I'll do a little more research and we'll have more videos like this later on. Hope you're having a good day. Talk to you later. Bye.